there, Sandra here from Creating Spain. Now this is the second part in my videos of Rhinestone application. The first video I went over how to actually go about making a rhinestone template without using proper template materials and things, and it works really well. Now I want to concentrate on the software side of things and whether you need to buy a kit simply to get the software update, whether you need to just update your usual software or possibly change software versions or whatever. The first thing is, it depends very much on how much Rhinestone application that you want to do. If you want to do a lot of Rhinestone application, or you're doing it for items to sell all the time, you want a Rhinestone app because it's just going to make your life easier. If you just want to do things on the odd occasion, or you just want to test it out to see how much you like it, to see whether you would bother doing much of it, then there are alternatives. Now, the first obvious alternative, if you haven't got a Rhinestone function on your software, is to look at what version of your software has a Rhinestone function and whether it's worthwhile updating to that. Sometimes you'll find that your software's got it, you didn't even realize you had it. Sometimes you might find it's quite an expensive thing to update. If you have a Brothers Scan and Cut, you have to buy a Rhinestone kit in order to update your software to be able to do the Rhinestone patterns, or at least to do them presumably in Canvas Workspace. The other option is to use Shortcut Slot or Silhouette Studio Business Edition, both of which will export as SVG, but Shortcuts a lot will export in all sorts of different formats, including FCM if that's what you want. Now, if you don't have a Rhinestone feature on the Shortcuts a lot version you have, the chances are you have a very old one, and you might decide that it's worthwhile updating, not only to get the Rhinestone feature, but to get a whole bunch of other stuff that has been improved. If you have Silhouette Studio and you don't have the Rhinestone function, it may well be that you can upgrade to the version that does. I have the Business Edition, which does have a Rhinestone function. I don't know how far up the grades you have to go in order to get it. The Silhouette Studio Rhinestone function is, in my opinion, and it is only my opinion, a little bit better than the one for Shortcut Slot, in that the Rhinestone function in Silhouette Studio will allow you to do a sort of like array pattern and not just lines. In Shortcut Slot, the fill is a line fill. It doesn't go round in circles, it goes round in a line. But other than that, there isn't an awful lot of difference between them. You tell it what size rhinestones you have, it cuts out a whole load of circles along a path or inside the object to fill it, depending on what setting you have set it at. Now, the other option software-wise is object to path, and I've just done some demonstrations. With an object to path, you can, for example, draw a circle, decide what size your rhinestones are and design a hole to fit them. Go to Object to Path, and you can space those on Object to Path in any way that you want, and you can do it several times if you wanted to. You could make lots of different paths in order to get a fill. So for example, you have one path here, you could make another circle inside and another circle inside that, and by the time you had done all those paths, you would have a fill. Now, the difficulty is you can't just select all of it and go Object to Path. You have to do those paths individually. It won't do it any other way. With Object to Path, you can also do individual chunky letters, for example, and it will put those rhinestones, or the holes I should say, all the way around here, and it will complete the shape. It will do that, but it won't fill it. If you have some text like this, which is rather nice, where you've got overlapping lines, it will not touch that at all. Object to Path won't do anything to it. Won't put an object on that at all, because the paths are going back on themselves. Doesn't want to know about that. In Studio as well, and I don't know which version it goes down to, so you'll have to excuse that, There is also a nesting function. So if you design a whole load of holes and you then have a heart shape, you can nest those shapes within the heart and it will do that for you. So that's another way of getting a fill. The difference being that if you have actual Rhinestone software or the Rhinestone feature, if you have text like this and just apply rhinestones, it'll do it. It just goes ahead and it'll apply those rhinestones wherever it sees fit. You may still have to manually adjust it. You may have to knock a few out or put a few extra in or move a few, but it will do it. Now, the other option I'm going to show you is one where you do not have those options. This is just a piece of card with a whole load of holes on it, and I've backed it with another piece of card. Put it into a container just to collect any excess rhinestones. And I've got my brush. In the other video I did, previous to this one, I showed you that you don't even have to have a special brush. This is a DIY paint pad brush, by the way. You can even do it with these things. Might take a bit more doing, but it can be done. And in this particular case, what you do is you just make a page with a whole load of holes on it. And you tip on your rhinestones. Have I got the right hole sizes? Oh, I don't know. Possibly not. Actually, I might have done. I've got them very spaced out, so I'm not going to get a very good result from this. But, yeah. So you would fill all the holes in a certain area. I mean, obviously, if you had an A4 sheet, you don't need an A4 sheet of holes to be completely and utterly filled if you've only got a couple of inches of design, do you? So we're just going to pretend that all these are where they should be. My hole sizes weren't quite the right size. But there again, I didn't measure my rhinestones either, so yeah, what can I say? So you have this. Now, another thing to think about is what surface you use to cut your holes into. If you use a glitter cardstock, nothing that you put over the top of that will stick to the cardstock. It just doesn't. So it will only stick to your stones. Now I have here a very cheap piece of vinyl, just kiss cut into a heart shape. And I've used a piece of vinyl like this rather than the normal contact tape, simply so you can see it. You can see what I'm doing better. And I'm just going to take this and put it over an area where I think I've got the most stones. Okay. And I'll press that down. There we are. Now I can actually tip off the rest of these stones if I want to. So I have a fewer stones to fly off in all directions. Well, I'll take it off in a minute. And then, preferably with a pair of tweezers, I will get a pair of tweezers into this. Pick up, where you see a gap, pick up your piece of vinyl. And if you've done it properly, you will have all your stones attached in the pattern on that piece of vinyl in the same way that you would if you had done this design and you had spaced them the same in the software. Now, this has advantages in that you only need to cut something like this once and you can keep it and you can use it for whatever designs you like. I wouldn't say do it with a vinyl like this because I don't know what effect heat would have on this vinyl when it's hot pressed onto the item. But I simply use that so you could see what I was doing. I've got bits of things stuck to my arms. But it works in the same way. And you would just put it onto your item as you want. Empty off all the spare gems and stash it away for the next time. Now, it's fine for solid shapes. It won't be any good if you're just doing fine lines of text. You're just never going to get it right. But for doing other designs, it's fine. You can, of course, if you want to, add manually a few extra ones. If you think there's some missing on the edge, you can add a couple in before you iron it on. But that is one way of doing it without having the Rhinestone software. I will admit these holes are spaced apart too much, but that was simply a demonstration piece. And these are spaced 4.5 mils apart. You'd probably only want about 2 mil apart, something like that. But you experiment until you get the size and spacing that you want, and then you just keep it. And whatever shape you want, you simply cut out in your contact vinyl, your transfer vinyl, and yeah, use that to do it. So you don't absolutely have to have the software. It's a matter of choice, and it's a case of whether it's worthwhile you upgrading to get that effect, or whether you want to upgrade so you get many other effects as well, or whether you want to buy a kit that only gives you the ability, or the extra ability, I should say, to apply rhinestones. I've given you the options, so the choice is yours. Thanks for watching. I'll speak to you again soon. Take care now.